Oh no. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like you guys don't have a bag with heads in it, or used to.
That's true. That's
We
true.
haven't collected heads recently.
You
It's
haven't had
sanitary
it,
to
haven't had heads.
put all the heads in one bag. You can't mix them together.
Yeah,
bro.
well,
Like,
exactly. At least you
Yeah.
fought to keep all the heads in one bag.
Look,
We need a
cross-contamination is a huge concern. We don't want rot spreading. It's
we need a
important.
bag of holding.
Don't
Look.
keep spoilable items in a bag of holding. I've told you this
Exactly.
story before.
We've been over this.
Did,
That's a
did
bad
you, I said
idea.
bag of holding.
Oh,
As in a
bag of
that is
holding.
always cold.
Yes, different.
Well, you guys are presented to Otto's little house. You want to go up? Give it a
Is
little
the
knocky?
guard leaving now that
He's just kind of standing there, kind of like checking the street. There's like other people around. There's other houses around.
Yeah.
I'll walk up and I'll do one of like the knock knock enter. Not waiting
Yes,
for...
the door is unlocked actually.
Yeah.
When you enter into it's a dusty and stuffy. There are books
I
kind of
ignore-
stacked up.
Ruby's like cringing.
He's like
occasional-
having a real rough time with you just walking into a house.
I knocked.
Yeah, still.
where
not
there's
We were invited.
yeah,
It's
you were.
true. We were
Whether-
still.
Where there's a living room, you turn in and you see a desk that kind of fills up most of the room with scrolls and papers all over it, and a mountain elf who is sitting there on his knees, in a slightly meditative way, reading all the scrolls quite clearly with law keeping. His eyes are lit up in exactly the same way Barut's does, as his fingers brush over all of the words on the very long scroll. Seems to be maybe crime records or something like that. The elf that you see before you is old. It's sometimes hard to tell when an elf is old, but it's not really that hard to tell now, although Aelinor might be able to, hey, he's 100 or 500 or 5 billion, who knows, it's just old.
Yeah.
Brute, you'd be able to tell this elf is probably around 700, which is very old for a mountain elf, but he is clearly a mountain elf. He has the dark skin tone, although in patches where it's mostly worn, it's gone into a kind of grey skin. His hair is it has a sharp widow peak, which is shown on elder elves, and is a sort of dark grey that's faded to a lighter grey, and is not kept in any particular pretty way. It kind of rolls down his shoulders and is frizzied and all over the place. His features are sharp and has some scars. They're very, very light. Any of those little scars and cuts that would have been done a long time ago. And the clothes he's wearing are robes that are not fine. They're not fancy. They are practical, with the occasional bone trinket or little symbols that change things a little bit. He doesn't seem to notice that you've walked in immediately. He's kind of a little absorbed in lawkeeping.
After the scrolls, he's going to sit down and mimic the pose that Otto is doing, and just sit and wait patiently and kind of look at Aelinor and then kind of like nod his head to one
Does
of the seats.
Aelinor wait patiently?
I will wait patiently for all of 2 minutes.
Luckily, 2 minutes is more or less enough. It's about when you're like, that his eyes kind of blink and the shadow disappears from them, and they're quite light eyes that clearly show a keen wisdom to them, and they kind of focus on Brute and look to as well Aelinor, and like, yes, you have been asking to meet me. You two have been the ones going around curing the plague in the town. I honestly must give you my most sincere thanks about that. I really do.
We were happy to help people, as always.
I know.
What we do.
That's why I have to thank you, because you seem to do it out of kindness and faith.
Much in the same way that we wish to help by taking one of the prisoners that you have, that put himself in there voluntarily after a theft, who is a perfectly combat ready individual, and we want to allow him to do community service by helping deal with the ogre problem that your merchants have been facing. We, of course, would be guiding him and helping with that as well. We're also interested in taking that Knoll out of there just because he clearly doesn't belong in that cell, and he's really just more of a nuisance to your town than anything else, and we can get him further out of town back to his people, or at least to a place that would be better suited for him. Again, looking for kindness.
You want to take prisoners out of the dungeons to do community service. You're adventurers from another part of the world, although you're one of mine. You've come home.
I am
You're from very
here.
far away.
And I must say, the design of the prison, exquisite, by the way.
One of my earliest designs. This town, when I first came here, was a lawless combination of pirates and brothels. I've made this into much more a fine place. Not always people are willing, but I think everything is about right now. Now the plague is solved, everything should be fine.
Solved, yes.
Well,
Tricky thing, that.
the plague was caused intentionally, we believe.
Well, we don't believe we know that it was caused intentionally.
Now that does change things quite a lot. I didn't believe anyone on my force would be able to find a cause to a plague. If there was one, we checked boats coming in for rats and for signs of infection. You said it was in the water. I've heard quite a lot about that.
Yes. What do you know about the town's water system? I assume quite a bit. You have been here for quite a while, judging by the age of that prison.
Helped everything pump up. Yes, if I were to want to cause a water-based infection, I would have infected the reservoir under the town, which I assume is what happened. It takes a little bit of know-how to get in there, but honestly, just about anyone could. So it doesn't really cut down to any sort of suspects.
No, but it doesn't necessarily make it easy for a group of goblins, led by a hobgoblin, to get in there.
Hired by a halfling.
Blonde hair, I believe. Is that right?
Mhm.
Oh, you see, our friend, the one we want to get out for community service, is the only one with an ID on that.
He was able to magically create an illusion.
Yes,
Of
an
the halfling.
illusion of the halfling. I can follow that. So you want the community service, but what really the deed you want to do is find out who caused the plague and deal a suitable punishment to them. That is your
That's
hunt
correct.
in this moment. I will not complain about that. Anyone you need removed from that prison, you may have so. You are gaining quite names in my town, the town. I will not disagree as long as you continue to do good work, as long as you continue to care about the safety of the people here. I will not act against you. My guards seem to respect you quite well.
Well, there is, as with everything, reason and kindness behind with what we're doing. That's really our goal, is to be helping people. I don't know how familiar you are with the continent across the sea.
I
at
know
all.
many stories from many people who've come across the sea. I read in the few minutes of spare time I have a day. I've heard about the Cardinal Isles, I've heard about Jarviskjir, I have heard very little about the Mother's Horn. Minotaur do not come all this way. But if they were, I would have heard of it also.
Pull out one of his books, one of his volumes, specifically about his time in Jarviskjir, specifically his early days with the Grey Fists. So this is the early volume that consists of
Yeah, like the test volume.
This is the test volume specifically up until the point where we went to Aradia to leave. So it's the entire event, including the cataclysmic destruction of Slateco. And I will hand it to him.
My thanks.
I would ask that you return that when you're done. I know it will only take you a few moments to get the basics of it.
He does, like, whenever you're handed a book and you do the same sort of brush your hand over it.
Yeah.
He does the same thing, but then kind of sucks on his teeth for a moment. I would like to read this proper.
Well, unfortunately, that's in shorthand. That's why I knew you could read it as it is, but I intend on creating some more copies in
Quite
full
a
form.
devious little concept of code there. You're not quite like most of our brothers and sisters up the mountain. I think you might be a little bit more like me.
Quite perhaps. Now, when did you leave the mountain? If you don't mind me asking, of course. I know it can be a sensitive subject for some of our
Oh,
brothers.
no, I would tell quite readily to any of our kind who come down here, not everyone is meant to be up the mountain. That's not what our great stag wants for us. I will not say this was my first hunt. I will not lie to you. I thought I had quite the purpose as a cleric. Healing the sick, quite ironically healing the sick, summoning the actions of the stag. But when I came down here to see what life was all about, I saw this place as... Well, Palamaro was simply a place where people kept their boats. And some people were smart enough to start selling food and drink and women. And I made it into a little bit more than that, piece by piece, and now it's quite a safe place. I've made sure it's safe from the rest of Zalstella proper. Be it our kind, be it the halfling kind, be it whatever lies beyond the mountain. Be it orcs, ogres, gnolls.
Demons?
Yes, demons.
Quite a concept that, devils as well, or it will say, and kind of give a look back in no certain direction, and then back again.
Yes, well, I think I know that you know that there's more truth to that than most people would consider. Curse you out to the hells is a little bit more literal than that. I've been here long enough to know that there is more going on this island than simply halflings who want to be left very well alone. And if it is anything at all linked to this, and he kind of will hand you back the book, quite delicately, like one hand over the top of it. Well, you're not quite in the Department of Demons. But I will tell you for a fact, not that many of the people here know, there are giants in the mountains.
Now, those giants, are they true-born giants? Or are they what we call giants now? Are they the giants of the ancient times, or are they the giants that we know today?
Giants of the ancient times, I'm quite afraid.
Well, that is fascinating. I did not have the pleasure to meet any while I still lived here, though I had only stayed for 150 years or so on the mountain. So,
Giants who still exist on this world do very well to hide that fact. They'd be quite a target to hunters, and that would cause a battle that everyone would lose out on. They might be strong and big, but, well, we have fire powder and crossbows, and I have a good deal of magic that has shown a giant a thing or two in your spry years. I am worried, though. Any creature that does its own thing in the quiet, but has the ego of a giant. It's very unlikely that a giant caused this plague. But it's not unlikely that there are many wheels turning at once.
I can't imagine that this is going to be a simple endeavor. I don't think we have any intention of leaving anytime soon. I do have at least another couple of weeks before I finish writing the books that I need to read, write, develop, send off. And we have much work still here.
Well, consider, while you're here, that you have the ear to the people, you have the ear of the guards. You respect this place, it will respect you.
Very much so. If you would like to commission a copy of my book, by the way, I would be happy to. There are costs involved in the writing process and my time, of course. But if you are interested, I would very much love for you to read it in full when it is complete. Right now, I have a plan to send it out to cities across Jarviskjir at the moment, because that is the best way for me to get it reproduced and sent out. But it would be good to know that one of my brothers has a copy as well.
Perhaps when things are slightly less dire.
Perhaps.
Although, don't tell anyone that things are dire.
Of course not. We wouldn't want to cause a panic. I don't know if you know this, but we tried very hard to not cause a panic throughout the entire process of us cleansing the plague. We wanted to make sure that everyone stayed calm and that no one was sent into anger.
At this point, he turns and unscrews a pot of ink. A kind of spectral blue copy of himself will take a piece of parchment from one of the many... It's almost like a wine holder, which has got scrolls of parchment. And will take a small scroll out, and he will hand it to him, where he writes in common, basically, that you have the pass to extradite any prisoners you wish.
Okay. And I will bow and thank him profusely. And then I'll... I have actually written out part of our journey in the Shadowfell book. Because I was doing that for another thing, but that's a whole separate issue, but it's partially done. It has no mention of the ferryman in it. But
yes,
it has our trip to the Shadowfell and the journey there within. And it's literally just the description of the journey and what the Shadowfell was like.
What it was from an outsider's perspective. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah. And it's just my scientific notes and things, but it is actually written out, not in shorthand. And I would hand that to him and I'd say, for both of our knowledge. But hold on to that. You can keep that copy.
My thanks. Knowledge is the best weapon we have in this life.
Indeed it is. And
although she has quite a large sword, that'll do quite well as well.
It certainly helps. It saved me more than a few times, I can tell you that.
I'll certainly put it against any knowledge you have.
Burrowit will allow his eyes to light up for just a brief moment there in response to that back at Eleanor, just with a wink too from the lore keeping. Just
he
as
will.
a cheap nod.
At this point, Otto will turn back around and sort of sit back down, kind of as a non-verbal like, we're pretty much done here.
I will just say as we're leaving, if you do find any knowledge that you feel might be helpful, or
we'll have it sent your way.
Please do. And I'll give him the name of the tavern that we're staying at and everything. And just my name as well is Burrowit Benarin. You can leave any messages for me at the tavern.
He will tell you his full name is Otterolet. Of course, humans and half-orcs shorten it to Otto.
Yeah.
He has a last name as well, but I can't be bothered to look it up.
Yeah, I'll ask you for
I'll
it
just
later.
give it to you when you're writing up Barut's book.
There you go.
Yeah, and you can head back to the prison and you can get out Virik and Grok if you want.
Yeah, I'm also going to extradite the swashbuckler and the goblin. Get them to come along with us as well. Potentially, I want to sit down and have a conversation with them first, if that's all right.
Oh, feel free. So I imagine first you go to Virik. Like, you go there with this piece of paper. You show it to the same guard, and he's like, "Yeah, I cannot nor will I argue."
Yeah, we
Sorry,
we're going to grab our friend Virik first. We're going to take the knoll as well. I just about called him the Groll because of his name being Grok. Oh, that's funny. Did you know his name was Grok? Anyways, sorry, total side note there. But we're going to extradite the knoll as well. But I'm also hoping there was a swashbuckler that Virik mentioned during one of our visits. And
Dumas.
With him. Dumas.
Dumas and Chot.
Chot. Oh, that's a name. All right.
It's a goblin.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
I'm aware, but some goblins actually have some fairly fluid
Sometimes
names.
we meet sailors from the Onyx Mountain that they're goblin sailors, actually.
Yeah. Some of them have actually...
Perfectly competent. Perfectly... They're almost like people.
I would argue that when given the opportunity, goblins can learn, but many of them don't
Yeah.
set up to do that.
Yeah.
And,
And my dog can play poker.
well, you know, I think... Do you remember when you asked me if you thought the knoll could learn common? Or if I thought the knoll could learn common? And I said with the right teacher? I
Suppose a dog could learn poker with the right teacher.
Absolutely. Dogs are very smart, and so are goblins if you give them the chance.
You about this time, like you show up to Viric's
but I
cell,
like dogs.
and Viric, you hear like the end of this conversation about dogs.
So as the guy goes to like unlock my thing, I'm like, oh good, and I'll just like pop out of the restraints ready while he's unlocking the door.
Yeah, all right. Well, you're free to go.
And
Before we go, Vera, could you show them the image that we were able to conjure of the halfling we're looking for?
Yes, and I'll do that.
And I will kind of explain to this guy, this is the halfling we believe is responsible for the plague, and we're looking for him.
I'm on prison duty. If he came through the prisons, I'd see him, but nah. I mean, if it's someone going in and out, you probably want to sort of like the gate guard. They're the ones who see everyone.
Burwood is going to take out, because he did bring his pen and notebook in this time, because the guards
You're,
now are
you're
just
walking in to leave, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to quickly draw up a sketch of Viric's illusion, and I'm going to hand it to the guard, and I'm going to say, pass it around to your friends as well. If they see anybody, we're at, I don't remember what tavern we're at, but I'm going to
The water wizard.
The water wizard, right? Because they water it down. I remember. So yeah, and I'll tell him we're at the water wizard. If anyone sees this man or knows who he is, just to leave a note for us. It's nothing urgent. We're just looking into it. That's all we want to know. We just had a conversation with Otto, and we're just looking to speak with him. That's all.
He'll tuck the piece of paper into his belt, and then you go over to Grok in the next cell. Or will you?
Communicate with him what's happening, and he's not terrified.
Yeah. Fair.
And I'll get the guard to open the door again, and I'll actually ask for the key to his cuffs, just as a.
Yeah, he will happily give it to you instead of going close to that thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna walk up to Grok.
You see Grok's eyes light up when you walk over with the key.
Yeah, and I say, we've got some work to do first, but we'll see what we can do about getting you back.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
And I'm going to very gently take his paw, which I'm sure he shirks away at first, just out of instinct, probably. And I'm going to give him scritches behind the ear again, of course, because he gotta. And a little piece of cheese for him to gnaw on while I unlock the chain, because Burwood's not very good at unlocking.
It's also like a rusty metal thing. It takes like a minute. You can release it, and he will like sort of like rub at the wrist where like the fur hasn't grown properly, and will stand up very quickly. And like he's always been sitting or kneeling in some way. Noel's kind of like they're kind of hunched, but he's still pretty tall, taller than you'd think. And it is kind of like for a second you think he's just gonna bolt.
Yeah.
But there's just kind of like a lot of nervous energy in him. He just kind of like it just goes into a shake instead of a run.
Yeah. Bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn to the guard and just say, have the bookstores moved in town?
Constant change. Once the stock's out, someone else will come in with a bunch of books. Why?
Going to look at seeing about getting a book on common.
You aren't really read.
No, that's fair.
Like ever.
Do you know how?
So next, you want to go to
Yes.
Dumas, right? Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Viric, you mentioned a swashbuckler and his goblin friend. I think we should look into maybe freeing them as well to have a conversation at least. See if they're able to help us with the ogre problem we mentioned.
Yes, I did. Be careful, the goblin might recognize you. And I just lead you guys down.
Oh, if he does, that's fine.
I'm gonna make note of like as we start heading the direction, I'm gonna start showing the way. It's like I already do the way around, sort of thing.
You didn't know where these two were.
No, but I
wouldn't have known their cells.
Wouldn't know the direction at least from the place.
I'm gonna make sure that when we get to the cell of the goblin, I'm going to say very specifically to the guard.
You would find Dumas first.
Okay, that's fine.
They're not in the same cell. So first we find
I guess
Dumas.
that makes sense, doesn't it? All right, fair.
Dumas is human. Short hair, probably cut it in here, nearly bald in some places. Probably in his 30s or so. He's clearly an Enfar from Bill Drake, but the only person who would know that. would be Barut, the kind of less than pure human race with a lot of like, some of them have half-orc blood, ogre blood, some sort of monstrous blood in them a little bit. Missing a few teeth, kind of few battle scars and things, but quite spry and quite muscular. He'd actually be one of those people you'd come up to in the cell and he'd probably be working out in some way, like he's taken a brick from the wall and is kind of like
doing an Uncle Iroh, just
doing an Uncle Iroh. I was considering that a little bit as well.
Yeah.
You'd see him and he'd kind of look at Virik and then he would spring up. So you're getting out there, Virik. Is this the pirate crew you were telling me about?
It's a crew.
all right.
Yeah, I'm getting out on community service.
I love to service the community. I do. You need a good sword hand. I'm your man.
Deciding on is he going to flee as soon as we let him out of here?
Do you know these kinds of people? The phrase "honor among thieves" is quite literal around these kind of people. There's a chance, but he'll probably respect that you let him out, or that Virik let him out, and hang around for a bit. He'll probably bolt at some point, but then you can always get to know them a bit more. So.
I am going to do a quick sending to Blackford and ask him if he's looking to hire on a new crew member or two.
I'm always in need of good hands.
Just warn him about what happened to the last one.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
And I'll send again in return. Have a potential mutineer here for you, who might do good work as long as you can keep him in line. But we have a job for him first.
I'm still... Oh, I will be back at the docks soon. Send it my way.
And the final time... Oh, I don't have the spell slots. That's fine. He can deal with it. There's going to be potentially a goblin there with him when the time comes, but we'll see what happens.
Blackfur's a tabaxi. He's probably okay with it.
Yeah. And I'll look at Dumas and first.
You cut out. I mean, I cut out. But what did you say?
I said I'll look at Dumas and I'll kind of give him the once over and I'll say, "So are you afraid of ogres?"
I wasn't afraid of my ex-wife.
Brewitt kind of like looks very confused and then looks at Aelinor and then looks at Virik and then looks at Tobias and then...
Grok, if he understood it, would have found that very funny.
Okay.
But he doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't understand it, so that's a whole issue. Okay, and I'm going to kind of just say, okay, but what about ogres?
You're asking if I can go and fight ogres? I can fight ogres. That's easy enough. That's not going to be a problem at all.
And then after
big things, cut them in the ankles, they fall down.
Sometimes.
I will ask for Ruit and Elvish what he's hoping to accomplish with these ones. We don't need them to fight the ogres.
And in Giant, in return, because Elvish might actually be a little too common here. Actually, I have a question for you out of game, Aaron. Does Aelinor speak... hold on. I just fucked up.
I think it's Elvish and Giant you share.
It's just Elvish and Giant, yeah.
You don't speak Voss by any chance?
No.
Okay. I figured it was a long shot, but Aelinor might just out of, proximity to Bastilian, but fair enough. Then in that case, I will do Giant. And in Giant, I'll just say we want to get information out of a goblin, and this man, from what Virik told me, has fairly good control over that goblin.
Goblins are like cats. They don't retain information like dogs do. They exist.
First of all, They do retain information about jobs they're
They have
doing.
like memories the size of, I don't know, like there's like saying like you leave them in a room, they turn around, they forgot where they are already, something like that.
And yet they remember every single bit of their community. And this one will certainly remember his friends being slaughtered, and this one will certainly remember enough about the job to give us at least some indication.
Then this goblin should rot here. I mean, honestly, like it's serving its time.
I am suggesting that information is valuable, and if they are simply followers, as you would suggest, then why would it need to be punished for the actions of the hobgoblin master that it served?
Even if it is just a follower, it's still, you know, committed atrocities.
Then let
It
it
still should be
follow
here.
us so that it can do good.
What good is it gonna do? It can't fight a goblin. Or a ogre.
Excuse, am I getting out of his prison cell? Is that happening?
I don't much like this one either.
I think she likes me. She says to Virik.
I know, knowing giant.
Yeah, exactly.
This one doesn't have information for us at all.
This one is potential payment for Blackfur taking us without any hesitation, without any.
I'm sure
thought.
Blackfur would love another stowaway.
Blackfur would love to have a crew that does what he says. And this man may cause problems in that respect, but it would be under the command of someone who is perfectly capable of dealing with that. If this man is going to do anything under any
So
service,
our thanks for Blackfur and our reward to him is baggage.
I would like to point out I did
We
tell
have
him
to
that
deal with.
I would like to point out I did tell him it was a mutineer, and he did tell me that he was still interested. So worst case scenario, Blackfur just simply kills him on the spot, and that's all there is to it, and he gets to kill a mutineer, and he's very happy about it. I'm not really too bothered one way or the other.
I mean,
Here.
You're missing the whole middle portion where we have to spend time with him and take him with us on this
Yes,
voyage.
I know people are dreadful. That's not the point. The point is that he may be able to have sway over this goblin. This goblin's
By the
going to
way, Grok laughs at that because you still have tongues cast on you, which
Yes.
actually means technically this guy has understood everything Barut has been saying.
Yes. Yes. Which Baruit knows. But he's doing this for Aelenor's sake, so
Yeah.
Aelenor is going to use giant. So
Yeah,
he doesn't
yeah.
understand what Aelenor is saying.
That's a good idea.
Because if he knows Elvish,
If you knew what Aelnor was saying, it's much worse than what you're saying.
exactly, Baruit knows so far that he's fighting for this guy to come along
Alright,
at the
alright.
very least. So
If the goblin runs and tries to escape, what we are deeming his punishment and his his
yes,
redemption,
absolutely.
then I will kill
because
him.
that is his justice for that. Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to kill him if he tries to run away.
That's
Just so we're clear.
correct.
Okay. Just so
Yes.
we're clear on that.
No, there was never any debate about that. He's still a
Okay.
criminal.
Fine.
This is not a
Right.
problem. And also, the same can be said for this gentleman. If he tries to escape the retribution of doing community service and then going on to work his commission, you can kill him, Aelenor. That's fine.
Uh-oh.
I'll just like look at the
And I will
the
turn to him and I will
suspect.
say, she's very good at that. I just want you to know she's very good at that. So please don't try and avoid the community service. It's just easier for everybody. And honestly, I want to see you go through this and rehabilitate. I want you to come out the other side of this and do good work for yourself, for this community, and for the community and family that you will have on a ship after this if you cooperate.
I can verify she is good at killing things and people.
I never should have suggested this whole rehabilitation idea.
How could I refuse?
Well, the other option is stay here.
Yeah, no, I'm going with you. I will...
Yes, precisely. Just don't run.
I've never run away from anything in my life.
Great. Warwick's gonna ask for the key from
Yeah,
from the guard.
You let him out, and then you go down to the goblin in a goblin-sized cell that immediately starts screaming and backs up against the back wall because he recognizes Aelenor.
Yes. And Burrowit is going to walk up, ask for the key again. He still has tongues on, and he's just going to say, "Stay right there." He's going to unlock the door. He's gonna walk up.
Don't kill me! Don't kill me! No!
And I'm just gonna stroke his head and also cast Hand of the Law on him. And I'm just going to then, as his hands are bound, rebind them with rope and
Smart.
essentially hoist him over my shoulder on that, because I can actually.
He's a goblin. He's a small goblin as well.
And he's basically just a bag for me. And I'm just gonna say, see, Eleanor, he won't run. And I'm gonna walk out of the prison with the goblin handbag that I've now acquired.
At this point, Trot goes mostly into whimpering and crying.
And I'm gonna be stroking his head and like actually like saying, "Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you." And no one else
feels like you're gonna hurt me.
I understand, but I'm not going to hurt you. No one is going to hurt you as long as you don't try and run away, which I know you might want to do because it's all very scary.
It's very scary.
But we're here. We're going to take you just outside of this prison, okay? Now, we are going to go fight some ogres. I'm not going to make you fight ogres because I think you might get smushed.
I get smushed by an ogre!
Right, exactly, which is why I'm not going to make... Exactly, they're very large, which is why I'm not going to make you fight an ogre. So don't worry about that. But the thing is, we do need information from you.
And also, you need to toughen the fuck up, because I'm not going to stand this whole crying business. Too far away.
I'm going to calm emotions.
It stops crying.
Yeah, and I'm just going to be stroking his head, and I'm just going to say it's okay.
You get out of the labyrinth of the prison. Dumas kind of like goes like, Grok kind of is much slower. He's been in there for 4 months. He kind of peers and slowly like walks around and like sniffs at the air and kind of like a dog, kind of like open mouthed, tongue out, kind of panting and a little bit of giggling.
Yeah. I'm going to hand a water skin with water to each of them so that they have clean water to drink. And, yeah. Oh, boy. What have we gotten ourselves into?
Oh, don't say we.
Oh, we.
You gotta say, what have we gotten ourselves into?
Yeah.
Look, this could have been much worse if Josiah was here.
Yes.
I just want to point that out. All you've done is adopt 3 NPCs who are all criminals.
Yes.
What could go wrong?
It's almost like Virik has a crew now to watch his back.
Neutral party. Let's change that.
No, because this is not happening. I'm sending them to Blackfur when we're done with them.
You taught Virik how to use his powers for good and then make money off it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Better, honestly. Neutral good, maybe. But yeah, you know, I'm gonna walk us back to the water wizard at this point, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Go upstairs or just find a table downstairs in the main tavern hall.
No, go upstairs. We have talking.
People obviously are weirded out that you have a gnoll with you. But considering it's you two,
and I'm gonna be like,
no commotion is caused.
I'm gonna be guiding Grok with my hand as well, so I'll have one goblin over my shoulder and then Grok kind of by the scruff, but I'm not grabbing him by the scruff. I'm scratching behind his ears, but it probably looks like I'm grabbing him by the scruff just to ease people's minds here.
It looks like you've just caught 2 criminals.
Exactly, and
2 monsters.
Dumas probably just looks like a hired hand at this point, so that's fine. We're going to go up to the room.
You go up to your room. It's quite packed now. A room for 2 people that now has 6. Yeah. That's quick maths. It might be wrong. Well, one of them is a goblin. Tobias is drinking, but the gnoll takes up a bit more space. He's a big lad. Even though he's a skinny lad, he's big.
So, I bet you're wondering why we gathered you all here.
That's
Grok,
funny.
Don't worry, I know
That's
you
funny.
can't. Grok doesn't understand us at this point because my spell has worn off, so he won't necessarily know what's happening unless you happen to know how to speak Gnoll.
This is where I usually make a joke about my ex-wife again, but I've already done that one.
Yes. Well, if you could make it in Knoll, then Grok would laugh. He likes jokes quite a lot. So, well, yeah, you two might get along very well. Who knows? But we need to teach him Common first, so I need to get a book on Common, and then I'll have to teach him that. That's a whole other process. Hey, Nix, would you mind coming into view for a moment?
Nyx just kind of appears, and Dumas flinches. Chot, nothing, because he's had calm emotions cast on him. He's just a blank goblin, and Grok laughs.
Yeah. Nix, do you speak Knoll?
I speak everything. Come on, I can speak everything. What, you want me to speak to this guy? What do you want me to say?
The reason why I ask is because I knew you could. And I appreciate you very much. What I'm hoping that you'll ask him is just to relax a little bit, enjoy himself, just to stay here and be calm. That was very good, wasn't that?
It's a little rusty. I've not done it for a while.
Honestly, that was excellent. Very impressed.
Grok actually is quite calm. So he's he's fine. He seems quite happy that someone can speak to him. Even if it but like Grok is also a monster, so the fact that it's an imp doesn't really weird him out that much because he's already strange and seen much stranger.
Yeah, I have many questions for him still, but that's for another time, I think. In Giant again, now that Tongues has worn off, I'm going to test to see if Dumas can actually understand Giant. And I'm going to turn to Aelinor, and I'm going to say, do we want to tell them what we're actually doing?
You're muted, Aaron.
I still don't entirely understand what you want them for.
Well, we are going to help deal with those ogres. That's a start. Then we need to figure out who tried to cause a plague here. Those two may be able to help with that. Swashbucklers, charming folk.
So he can stay here and hunt out the halfling, maybe.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
And the goblin can be, I don't know, bait.
The goblin can give us information first, and then work with him. And if that is as bait, I'll leave that up to Dumas. But we'll pay him for his services, because there is honor among thieves, and there's honor where gold is to be had.
I feel like they shouldn't be getting paid for their community service.
Oh, I'm not suggesting we pay him a lot. I'm suggesting we pay him enough for room and board.
And what are you going to do with the knoll?
Honestly, I just wanted him out of that cell because it's not a good place for a knoll to die, and he would have just died in there. I'm not suggesting we take him with us forever, but I want to teach him Common and then hopefully send him on his way. Actually, Nix...
You know he's a literal monster, right?
Yes, I understand that.
I'm a literal devil, just, context.
In case you weren't aware, I'm not exactly too worried about
you are.
whether or not something is...
He's a very forward-thinking elf! Modern age!
Cultures are cultures. Gnolls have cultures. They're not very good ones most of the time, but nevertheless, cultures. And
I don't know if eating everything counts as a culture, but I've been to the plane of gluttony. What did you need?
But Ruit, if he goes and eats somebody, are you going to be able to live with that?
At this point, Grok has found, whatever slight bit of food was there from the day before and is, literally, crunching on the bones.
Yeah.
And the plate.
I get it, culture is cool and all, but he's actually a monster and will eat somebody.
It's not that we're going to set him loose in a town.
He also wants... He likes parts of our culture that are entertaining more than he wants to eat people. If we maybe find a way...
That just means he's going to find his way back to a city no matter how far away we put him.
We could find a way...
The intention is to take him back to Shareth.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that is.
It's a dragon, I think.
What?
Oh.
I thought we were done with dragon. I thought we reached our dragon quota.
I missed that part.
Sorry. Did I not explain that?
No,
No, and why does it always have to be dragons? Why do we keep going back to dragons?
I don't know. There's just this connection that I don't know. Maybe it's Tobias. He seems to have a lot of rage in him.
Okay.
I mean, maybe Tobias has dragon blood. Maybe that's why he's so angry all the time now. You never know with Northland, though. Your culture is very angry to begin with, isn't it? I've always liked that about you guys. You show your emotions. You really do. Elves don't. It's passion, though. It's not really anger. It's just passionate in all fronts. You guys don't hide their emotions. You're very upfront about things, and I've always appreciated that. Mountain elves are like that, too, you know, sometimes. Not when they're around other peoples, but among themselves. Very emotional. Very sensitive, very showing towards their community. It's a very loving environment. You kind of have to. You don't really have that long...
Hey, buddy, you got off track. Like, completely.
Right, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, dragon.
I can tell you what emotions I'm feeling right now.
I know
can
what
tell you
emotions
that
you're
too,
feeling.
honestly. Is like
Annoyance is the
like a
most
book.
common emotion that reads on your face, and I am sorry. I know it happens a lot. I get carried away. You've known this about me since day one. To be honest with you, what was I talking about? Dragon, Shrek, right. Grok here, and I'm going to scritch behind his ears again, is going to go back to Shareth, the Endless Party. I don't know. I imagine it's probably to do with the Fae in some way or another. I don't really know that much, but the Fae are usually jokesters, partiers, tricksters types, so that's about my extent of knowledge there. But
I'm familiar with the Fae.
well, good. Maybe you'll know more. What I know is that if a dragon's involved, it's probably weird.
Everything we're involved in is probably weird.
Not everything. Sometimes we do just travel on a boat, and that's fairly normal, to be honest. Well, except when the things jump onto our ship and tell us that they're going to raid us. That's never good. Or,
I can't
you
think
know,
of
when we
a single
appear...
level where we've had.
It's happening again.
Yep.
We appear on a boat, and we just have to
At this
travel.
point, you are distracted by Chot screaming again.
Oh, right. And I'm just going to scritch behind his ears. And...
Hey, you're gonna kill me! You brought me up in the gun!
And... Oh boy, I'm going to be tired by the end of today.
So do you think this goblin's gonna listen to you?
Well, like
And
this,
do what you
yes.
say?
Dumas.
Look, I can talk to him. Chot, you tiny little bitch. And like this very quiet conversation starts happening in the corner of like, you're gonna listen to him. I'm gonna hit you. You're gonna listen.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you can keep talking.
I just shake my head up root, like just horrified. Like, look what he brought to us.
Yeah. Yeah, goblins are usually submissive by nature. Hobgoblins tend to rule because of that. They tend to lead. They are very aggressive, and as a result, they do tend to take that dominant role. It is actually very much a hierarchical structure, so it's not exactly surprising that the way to control him is to be quite dominating in that sense. Nonetheless. Well, this ought to be an interesting few days, shouldn't it? What do you say we go kill some ogres? That always cheers you up. Pruitt pats you on the shoulder.
So I'm gonna give very explicit instructions to our swashbuckler
Yeah.
and goblin on what they're to do here.
What is that?
To find this person, and Varric will show them an image. And they are the ones causing the plague here.
Or at least they're connected to it.
This goblin might know what they are or what they look like.
He says he doesn't know. But maybe the other goblins know. If we're allowed to go out of town, we could go see them.
Yeah, sure.
As long as you come back to the town.
There's also the risk that the goblins might want to kill him because he failed and all the other goblins died.
Okay, plan B then. Sure.
I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world if he doesn't know anything.
To be perfectly honest with you, if you go with him and say that another rotation is happening, the goblins won't kill him. They'll just assume they vacated.
Walk the walk, talk the talk. I know how to talk to goblins.
I actually believe you. Don't normally believe people like you, but I believe you on that. How much time did you spend with goblin sailors?
You know, little while. Not the current ship I was on, the one before.
Bildrake?
From there, to Mount Onyx. All the ships around there have goblins on them. Well, not all of them, most of them. Easy labour, cheap labour. Don't even need to give them any gold. Just feed them.
Fair enough. Well, if you know what you're doing, you'll report back here. Question for you. Who was your former captain? The one who mysteriously died as you came into port. That
You know, I would really
had
prefer
nothing to do
not
with.
to tell you about that.
Right. Well, as I have garnered your freedom, I would appreciate it, given that we're going to be passing you on to another captain after this. And, well, it's good for him to know who you sailed with.
It was a dude called Sin. You know, bad dude. He had a little accident, probably due to like the magic he was doing. He was a magical dude, you know. Had a little accident.
What kind
Couldn't
of
swim so well.
that kind of accident, right? All right.
Now, the fact that I happened to turn the ship around at the same time, I was just following orders. He was under the ship. I didn't know how would I meant the ships are quite big. Can't see someone when they're down like that.
What other pirates are you familiar with along these isles? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know too many here, to be honest. But, you know, pirates is pirates. Well, I like to prefer the term privateer.
Right, of course you do. Every pirate prefers the term privateer. That doesn't make every pirate a privateer. There are privateers who are pirates, and there are certainly pirates who are privateers. They are not necessarily all the same thing. Sometimes there are privateers who are simply just privateers. Sometimes there are pirates who are just pirates. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Right, yes, of course. But my question for you was more simple than that.
I don't know many of the captains of the cruiser ships around these parts.
Well, many is not none. You may have heard of Blackfur.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Well, he's a friend. So, once you're done here, once you've completed your community service, which will be determined by myself and Eleanor.
The scary one.
Yes. Eleanor is a delight. And quite the conversationalist, I will add. But also very good with that sword on her back. Seen quite a few halves of people. Anyways, sorry, I was getting sidetracked again. That happens a lot. Regardless, he's quite a lovely fellow, keeps his crew very happy, works them hard, of course, but...
Have you ever tried pipeweed? It helps focus the mind and things like that. Big old bag of the good stuff.
You know, I've been more forgetful lately, but no, pipeweed and me don't get along. Feel nauseous after I have it. You know, I think it's something to do with the chemical composition of the leaf itself.
All right, so we're gonna go hunt the ogres now.
Right.
We'll ask
yeah.
some questions around. We'll, yep. Absolutely. Back here. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, great.
We'll be back soon.
So, meet us back here no later than tomorrow evening, let's say.
Deal's a deal.
2 days.
2 days?
2 days.
2 days evenings from now. And if the door's locked, just knock.
He will kind of like knock Chot on the top of the head and walk out, and he'll do the same. They'll leave together. Leaving you with the knoll.
Yeah, are we taking the knoll with us?
How do you think he'd fare against ogres? He'd certainly like their bones.
You can decide after we take a break.